Vision. Umi Harun says, I don't follow her on social media. That's why I don't see her contributions. I'm following you right now. What is your name on social media?
Umi Harun.
Bus.
That's it.
Yeah.
I followed you since 2018. You'd have seen my cutaways all the time.
That's live following.
This is live following right now. Chairman.
So Jeff, to our conversation, if you check across the political divide and you see the contribution of young people, we will not, our political parties could not entrust us with leadership positions that have entrusted us if we're not good legislators. And if you check, even on Azimio side, we saw after the onset of the Honorable Sabina Chege as the minority whip. Yeah. By the way, Sabina Chege was also a very young person, you know. She was replaced by the Honorable Mwenje. A very young person.
Correct, okay.
And why are they replacing with Mwenje? You may not hear Mwenje speak because, again, he being an ordinary member, by the time he's making his contribution, it's way after news time, but Azimio trusted him to make him the chief whip. If you look on our side, I'm the chair of Finance and National Planning Committee. The chair of Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Honorable Dindi Nyoro, is also a young person. The chair of ICT Committee, the KJ, is also a young person. Our chief whip, Honorable Silvana Sosoro, is a young person. The chair for Social Protection, the Honorable Karemba, the MP for Runyenjes, I went to university with him, is also a young person.
I'm a vice chair and I'm a young person.
You see, Honorable Caleb Hamis here is the vice chair of P.
If we actually
a young person. Yeah. And if they won, I am sure he would be the chair of Defense Committee.
Yes.
So you find
Camargo, I could be somewhere.
So if only your people woke up to vote and not just do rallies, you would have been chair. So you find the fact that our different political...
Yes.
The fact that both political, across the political divide, have entrusted positions of influence for young people, it means these people are good legislators.
Okay, that's a good point. Lakini, Honorable Salasi anasema, they are being monolized.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are being monolized.
Yeah.
Because you see, sometimes, and if you want to know that you are being monolized, right? If he makes a mistake, like for example, they will say that you are not a first timer. You can imagine. You see, you are not a first timer. That shows that how we are being, which word will I be able
to...
Discriminated.
Sure.
And when we have important matters, we want to raise your hand. No one wants to pick you.
Do they ignore you? Do they? What does the speaker do when you raise your hand, when you say, hey, yes?
So now I'll be just shouting so that they just know that I want to speak.
But let's not forget, Mheshimiwa, there's 349 of you. That's a lot of people in that. That's a crowd.
No, it depends, because you might be so many, but as Mheshimiwa said, you might be early enough that you want to be the first person to key in. But now you will realize that by the time you are targeting to give a contribution on a certain debate, you will be called maybe after they said...
majority speaks, the minority speaks.
Seniority. It's the seniority.
Yes, all that, yeah.
So that issue also has to be addressed, that all members, maybe apart from... And also, the majority leader and the minority leader, they are given a lot of time to speak. They should be just be given, announced, and let the other members, because they have the plan. I don't know. We need also to look at that. They give 15 minutes. All 15 minutes. They speak. Now we should be just leaving. We will not be going to the parliament. We go we go out. We leave them to speak. So we must also regulate. We need to have Kamkunji for that reason. Because we want to speak. And I'm very vibrant. And let me tell you, now that is why we have decided that now we have left the parliament for them. Now we have our own followers. Like me now, if I want to address anything, I'll go and shout there. Or I'll go in the WhatsApp group of the members and I speak what I want to speak.
Do they reply you? Do they reply? On a blue tick, I love when I watch it.
Specific time, like around 1 at the night is when I do it. And I go.
I'm having one too many. But
yeah, exactly.
Don't hate the players.
Hate the game.
Hate the game.
Yeah.
No, but we'll get there.
Amisi,
yes.
Real quick. So what's the way forward? Because you guys are the future. I mean, they keep telling you you're the future, but the future is now. It's you. You're 36.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa is 35. You're
33.
33. You're the baby here.
Totally.
You guys are the future, which is now. What's the way forward?
The way
Imagine. So what am I to her then?
First of all,
Yes.
First of all, Jeff, you must appreciate just by the virtue that the young people are disturbing the stubborn status quo. You know, it has never happened that even in my constituency, that a young man I came in parliament at 29, okay? My predecessors, none of them was below 40 years. But the fact that the young people are now trying to disturb that stubborn status quo and taking the bull by the horns, they're going to vie and making it. If you see the elected, all the members who are young, Kenya young parliamentarian in the last parliament, all of them were re-elected. Why? It's because most of them, if you look, Jeff, they utilized so well the Constituency Development Fund. You'll find that that is where, in fact, they were rated highly. In my case, you could see my bursary was one of the best, that people could say that since I was born, I've never received bursary, you know, like from my MP, live like this. So they are doing something that has never happened. They are changing the course of history in one way or another.
And the whole narrative.
We may not do things in the same trajectory that our predecessors did, the way you are comparing us with the former, and you can't do that, really, because this is a different scenario. These are people who are at the multipartism. They were championing for reforms, new constitution. What we have now is quite different. We are doing economic, progress. We are now past constitutional reforms and democracy. We have achieved the tenets of democracy now. So now we have the democracy. The next frontier of leadership is not going to be about democracy and fighting for new reforms and fighting for a new constitution. We do have a new constitution. So the next frontier of leadership will be now economic advancement of Kenya. Now that's why we're asking ourselves.
Oh, really?
Exactly.
So what about bipartisan talks where we're talking about reforms? You've gone back.
Is the leader of the talks?
Now, I'm not the leader of the talks, but now that you talked about the bipartisan talks,
yes,
I find them a complete waste of time, a complete waste of resources. If you look at the people leading these conversations, these are people that most of them, the senior one, serves in parliament. These are people who are members of the House Business Committee. So all they needed to do is whatever they are speaking in Bomas, just bring it to parliament, prioritize in the House Business Committee, bring it to the floor, whip members across the political divide, and then we support the agenda. We don't have to go and sit down and have snacks at Bomas to have this conversation, because any legislation, any change in law cannot be made at Bomas, cannot be made in a political rally. It can only be made at the floor of the House of Parliament. And you could say Kalonzo is not a member of Parliament, fine, but Kalonzo is the leader of the Wiper faction party. So he just needs to go and have a PG with his members at Wiper and tell them, we are changing XYZ. ODM, we're changing XYZ. Eugene Wamalwa's party, we're changing XYZ. Our party, UD, we're changing XYZ. Prioritize this in the House Business Committee. Then our leadership will prioritize in the House Business Committee. It's going to be brought an amendment as a bill or whatever it is to the House. And the leaders are able to whip their respective parties. And we've seen them do that. Recently, we had the conversation on commercialization of sugar companies. You know, it was a bipartisan approach. The assignment was given it was a joint assignment of the Committee of Finance and National Planning and that of Agriculture. We went, spoke to farmers. Honorable Peter Selassie here came and gave very good contributions. Now Mogo, the Outgrowers Association, Mumias Outgrowers Association now, we're able to accommodate them. We're able to have an amnesty for their taxes, to foster a way forward. And that commercialization of sugar companies received a bipartisan approach. Every member who stood up to speak at the floor, including the leader of minority, supported my report. What does that mean? That if something is good and you convince members about it and you whip If you need 2 political parties to do that, they're going to agree with it. Why do you have to waste our time and taxpayers' money at Bomas? It doesn't make sense.
Umi.
Jeff,
I see you nodding, huh?
I wanted to quickly, if you may allow.
You can.
I had given him the lead role, but I think he's deviating. So I love to come in.
Yes.
No, Jeff, since the medieval period, since the Greek philosophies and the Royal Roman Catholic leadership, the papal leadership, if we had conflicts even during the Royal Catholic, Royal leadership of the Roman Catholic, there were still conflicts, disagreements that led to peace agreement. The Peace of Westphalia, 1648, you came to so many treaties, versatile treaties, the League of Nations, and finally the UN. Why did we have all these treaties? Why did we have these unions? Because they were trying to solve a conflict. Conflicts have existed internally or externally. What is happening now, countries have gone to war to reach what we are doing. People have fought. You can see what is happening in Palestine and Israel. You can see what is happening in Ukraine versus Russia. Internally, that is externally. But internally, we've had wars. DRC Congo has had the internal strife. Many countries have had the internal strife. And people have gone to war just to reach where we are going, where we are doing. So this is a shortcut. We could have gone to war as a nation. We could have fought among ourselves. And we could have said, okay, fine. People are talking about secession. That can we now have our countries that we get our own taxes and we rule ourselves because we can no longer sustain this anymore.
Okay.
So this is just a shortcut to war. Okay? So for any person to refute people talking, whatever they are talking, whether it is nonsense or whatever they are talking, but people are talking, that should be an advantage to any nation, any civilized nation.
Are not even in parliament, so we can't limit the entire discussion.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, around the room, starting with you, Umi. What would you do to bring down the cost of living today?
I think in Kenya, I'll speak for my country. Factor in all the global issues ongoing, but Kenya specifically, we do not have a housing crisis, because that's what the finance bill was prioritizing. What we are suffering from is an income crisis. Kenyans are not earning money. And it's not like the country is short of money. We have the money because when we have allocations like 535 billion shillings for education, that country has money. We have big budgets allocated for different ministries. It all comes down to corruption. And you said we dealt with issues of constitutional review, political parties. The agenda going forward for us as a country is corruption. How can we completely finish corruption? And this is something I keep saying in every debate, every platform I get. We have serious crisis of income. Kenyans are graduating from schools. We have very excellent curriculum until CBC came, then things went haywire. We have young people who have the expertise, the brains, the everything, but they're not getting the support because we are a government that are fully benefiting by being employed by government. The biggest employer in this country is government. So any country where the biggest beneficiaries come from being government employees, not investors, not the private sector, we will have a problem. So the cost of living discussion factored in all the issues ongoing. What are we doing about it as a country? Because even the little we have, we are looting it. And MPs, we are not doing our oversight role because in the Constitution, it's clear, MPs oversight. How can you hold the people who are implementing this money accountable? Legislation, what laws are we putting in place? Representation. But when we ourselves are sitting in a position of conflict of interest because we oversight funds and we also implement funds, we are not able to deliver rightfully. So it comes down first to the leadership. What can we do to address corruption? Can we take away the fact that government is the biggest employer? Then we work from there. Because devolved governments, devolution, all these things have just created individual billionaires. But if you look at the billionaires of this country, they have not founded anything. They've just been in politics.
Peter Salasia, Beya Mafuta, Beya Unga.
Yeah, maybe I just want to pick it from where she had just left. And she said a very key point that government is the biggest trading partner or employer, wherever. So when you realize that you start seeing a government that starts cutting off the budgets, first of all, it is closing many opportunities for the people to trade within the country. Then number two, we have to relook back on the finance bill, that we have to look at it. Number one, we must move away from a country that is about the services. We want the country to be about the production. Like today, we have heard about the president say that he wants to close the shops for importing what. And when we are saying that we are stopping to import those particular, maybe let's say furnitures, we have not prepared our country to produce the best furnitures. So we should be able to start now preparing, if it means that the Mutumba clothes that we are talking about, can we be able to improve our local cottage industry in terms of whatever, agriculture and all those stuff. So that is the area that we have to look at it. And then again, when we talk about fuel prices, we have to bring back the subsidies. Because once we increase the price of the fuel, everything is up. Like Lucy, we sell the fuel price in Kenya is higher compared to a landlocked country like Uganda. And you see, like today, they have increased taxes. Right now, there is a lot. The government is losing a lot of money through the taxes because all the investors, they have now run to Tanzania. And if somebody wants to bring something in Kenya, will bring it through Tanzania, and then he smuggles in. So the country at the end of the day is losing the taxes. So we have again to go back and ask ourselves, where are we as a country? And that's why my position is we have to go and review about the good things that we have achieved with the finance bill, and the bad things that we have achieved. We have to retreat back and we look at the cost of the power and the cost of the fuel. We bring back where former President Uhuru Kenyatta left us with 154, so that we can make this country, because I've been in South Africa. South Africa is a country, okay, and I want to speak about South Africa.
Thank you. Glad you finally brought it up.
I want to speak about South Africa.
Yes.
And South Africa, let me tell you one thing, is a country that, because I've seen the Kenya Kwanza MPs, they have been always moving around and comparing the prices of fuel to other countries. And that is the biggest mistake that they're doing, because our problems are different from other countries. Like you go to South Africa, the price of the fuel is very high. But now you realize that the street families in the streets, there are so many. The rich, they're enjoying, but the majority poor are struggling. And now here where the country, Kenya, where we are heading, because I can see if you are not going to review, the way chairman has refused that you are not going to review that finance bill, after 2 years, 1 year, we are going to buy a liter at 300 shillings. And the people who are going to suffer at the bottom up. And I said to the members, I wrote to the WhatsApp group of the National Assembly of members, that we have to call for a national holiday, a national prayer day, and refuse that spirit of poverty, the spirit of poverty that is hovering around the country, that was brought about the hustler. Because, you know, when you start calling about yourself hustler, you become struggling. It's spiritual. So we have to now that spirit of hustler in Jesus' name. I'm telling you. Or else we just keep on struggling. It's spiritual.
Were you a hustler once?
I was a hustler, but I refuse that I'm not a hustler.
Because we have some video of you in South Africa, by the way. So let's put that video up.
Hey.
Oh, where was it? In the disco?
Along
What be your picture? Angalia.
Leo nimeangukia mzuri bwana. Nani alisema wote kwa mtu? Mimi nitapata mzungu.
Ona.
Jeff, when I respond to that video,
yes,
Kenyans right now, they are, you remember there was a research that was done some years back, that Kenyans are the most happiest people.
Most optimistic. It was around 2002, 2003.
2000?
Yeah, after Kibaki came.
After Kibaki came. So right now, Kenyans are the bitter people. So right now, what I'm doing right now is to make them happy to forget about their problems.
This is your justification for that?
Yeah. The Kenyans are not happy.
Are you a comedian or are you a legislator?
Me, I'm a legislator and I'm a very serious person. I was, in terms of development, I'm among the first time as MP, number 1, number 2. And in fact, about all the general, I was number 10. But I'm supposed to be number 1 because what I've done in the constituent. You come there, you'll be surprised.
In Mumias East. In Mumias East.
In Mumias East is another city. What? Come and see the kind of toilets I'm building, kind of renovation, the bursary I'm giving, and everything I'm doing. And I monitor all the projects. You know, I do fund huku Nairobi, ni show. In the ground, nika. Because kwa sababu sasa bunge haitaki kunisikiza kwa sababu I have a lot of ideas. You see how I'm challenging the chairman of finance? You see?
Let me look at tweets now. Let's see what the people are saying. Wow.
Where is that
we can talk
fire?
All evening.
That fire extinguisher.
Yeah, I need to use it.
Yeah, this is the time.
You're going to have to hear. We're supposed to continue with the closing remarks.
No, hold on. Okay. Ni saa sita pana. Tutalala hapa. Mzae lazima lala.
Hapana, ungesema to respond kidogo.
Okay, KO Chieng 254 says, when young parliamentarians can't propose something towards joblessness of youths in Kenya, there's a big problem.
That was not the question. You could have proposed.
Only one Ranto says, the future of this country is in the hands of these youthful legislators. Bright, sharp, and articulate. How I wish they can push progressive bills in Parliament that can change the trajectory of our beautiful country for good.
Thank you.
Push those bills, guys. Push those bills.
Ask us, we have them.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Goody Baraza Wera says, please ask Honorable Caleb Amisi, what are his thoughts on his Trans Nzoia County Governor Natembeya, who was ranked as the best governor in the Republic? What can he say about the service delivery under Natembeya's stewardship?
I reserve my comments.
Hey.
He's doing well.
He's okay.
He's doing well.
Amejaribu.
He's amejaribu.
Yeah.
Compared to the previous one, he's too far.
So Nixon Bukina says, dear youthful great minds, keep the fire of innovation burning, always thinking and actualizing solutions to problems facing us, changing old ideas and practices into states that will benefit everyone or everything in relations to ethical living. B. Kaere says, 1. How impactful is Honorable Kimani's new Finance Act to underlying youth unemployment in Kenya? And 2, as a voter from Mumias East, Khabakaya village, I have seen or heard less about projects to empower youths economically. Could Salasia address this, please? So, Kimani, you first. How impactful is the new Finance Act to underlying youth unemployment?
You know, the Finance Act, outside the political rhetoric, had a lot of incentives for manufacturing job creation. I'll give an example of what I said earlier about manufacture of mobile phones in the country. So where now, you saw the president launch that big plant. We are going to be the largest producer or manufacturer of mobile phones, smartphones in Africa. One of a kind. If you check about what we've done in agriculture by reducing the cost of fertilizer from 6,000 to 2,500 is because we zero-rated local manufacture of fertilizers. So we're not just bringing down the cost of fertilizer to 2,500, but we're making it locally manufactured. I could talk about pharmaceuticals, where we provide incentives, where we have seen several pharmaceutical companies, the biggest pharmaceutical company manufacturers across the globe, coming to set up base in Kenya. All this means jobs to young people.
Okay. Salasia, listen, there's a voter from Mumias East.
Yeah.
You know this place?
Yes.
Khabakaya.
Yes, Khabakaya. I know the place. What I can say, I've done a lot in terms of the projects that I've been doing, like the toilets we are building, the modern ones that are being done by the young people. And I've also addressed that issue. And I've also said, because we have been having a problem in my constituency, in terms of once somebody finishes Form 4, he goes to the motorbike. So I've given clear instruction that I don't want to see any young person who has finished Form 4 going to the motorbike. And that's why I've introduced and say that, and I'm rallying, there is an institution there, that everybody who has finished, there must be 100% transition from the secondary to the college, so that they can be plumbers, they can be electricians, they can be mechanical, whatever. That is what I'm doing. And also, as one way, I've been so much passionate about the issue of Mumias. And as you can see, the chairman was there when I was addressing the issues of Moko, that will revive about the Mumias. You saw when I told the president, when we had the meeting with the president, and I asked the president before when all the MPs from Western failed to address, and I came out boldly, and he listened to me, and he solved our issue. And today, as you can say, that once the AFA gives the direction for the crushing of cans, Mumias will start to crushing the cans, and job opportunities will be found among the youth. So I'm doing a lot on that issue.
You said all MPs except me?
Captain Kip Korir says, hi, Jeff. Help me appreciate these great young leaders for what they do on ground. Kuria Kimani doing a great job in Molo constituency. Caleb Hamisi performs. Peter Salasia is outwardly seen a joker, but he discharges his duties well. Miss Harun, too, also. Well done. All right, folks, we've got a few minutes left. I'd like to go around the room and get some final thoughts. Ladies first, going forward. Anything you want to talk about to either your constituents or your colleagues or whoever going forward?
I think for me, being a nominated member of parliament now, I intend to use my platform because unlike other members, we do not have access to any public funds. So I cannot actively initiate projects, but I do have, the platform having this office, so I'm able to engage different partners and donors, and part of the work that I'm doing is mostly focused in my home county, which is Garissa County, and I'm actually actively working with young people, and we're looking at areas of innovation, especially as a platform to create jobs. And my position as a legislative member here, I'm very passionate about education. So I've initiated 2 bills. One is the Kenya Sign Language Bill, which makes Kenya Sign Language to be taught in schools.
That young lady there will be very happy to hear that.
Yes.
Her name is Yula.
Yes.
She'll be very happy to hear that.
And the fact that sign language interpreters are on TV did not come until the Constitution.
Correct.
And Kenya recognizes sign language as one of the 3 languages. So why English, Swahili is taught, but sign language is not, creates big barriers for the deaf community. And these are 2.7 million Kenyans. So my bill is to support this particular group of people, and also in the process create the Kenya Sign Language Council. So it's coming for first reading, and I'm really looking forward to it. The second bill that I'm also working on is the Inclusive Education Bill to support children with invisible disability, because education has been commercialized in Kenya so much. Children with ADHD, autism, dyslexia are paying for private schools because we do not have good assessment centers. And this is something that can be achieved if we just have it coming as a bill. So those are things I'm working on.
Good.
As I prepare to run for office in 2027.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. You might be looking at a governor, senator, an MP somewhere, so we'll see.
Well done.
Inshallah.
Well done. Inshallah.
Yeah, but before I forget, the issue that we also need to address now is KRA, because job creation is already a big task for young Kenyans. So KRA continuously coming after the young entrepreneurs, and it's something we also fought in the finance bill, taxing the digital tax and all the things that we had. When we create alternatives, the government comes after us. So KRA must stop its nonsense and allow us to thrive as young people.
Wow. Ushalipa ushuru?
Si wanatoanga kwa mshahara, si ati have a choice.
Peter Salasia.
Maybe mine is just to speak to our president First, I want to say that we have a president who, the president has one thing that maybe God has given him, that is a person who, because this country has been having a lot of cartels in different sectors, he's a kind of a person that he can finish that cartels. Like we can see, we have been having a lot of cartel in the sugar industry. We can see that he's finishing that cartel, and that industry is going to thrive. But there's also another thing that he needs to work on, the cost of living. The cost of living, he must address that thing and he should stop, maybe not even stop, that could be, he should look Kenya differently. People, I say that I've been to other countries outside there, but you realize that Kenya has been the cheapest place for one to stay. And I want him to make sure, even if we don't make it so development-oriented or whatever, let him just for now make the living in Kenya be the cheapest. And once he addressed that one, we are well to go. Other complications, whatever, we don't want. Let him just address now the cost of living, fuel and whatever, and Kenya will be the best president. Once he addressed that one, and thank God that he is now bringing together the country. He is now being felt as the president. This is a very good platform for him now to come together and delete some friends, some friends who have been misadvising him, to be taxing until they call him Zakai. We have to say that spirit Riswa, with the president, a good person. President, I know he's listening to me.
Yes.
So, President, please, that place, those people who call you Zakai, you must surprise them. You will lower those things. I'm sure next month the finance person here will not lie at you that it is going, because Kenya shilling is now collapsing. Everything is now collapsing on the economy. So please, if you take me as your advisor, economist, leave alone Okindandi. They are misadvising you.
What would advise President Wale?
I will advise him.
Utaweza?
Sinamwambia mambo yenye nimesema hapa yote, akiyafuata, he will be the president. Na akisongesha mafuta itoke kwa 220, na airudishe kwa 150.
Yeah.
Mimi naingia Kenya kwanza.
Wewe? Utaingia?
Nitaingia. Akitoka kwa hiyo 220, na alete hapa. Natoka kwa Azimio. President utoe tu mafuta alafu ingie ni kusupport.
Kimani Kuria.
First of all, I'm very grateful to the great people of Molo. For the last 30 years, they've never re-elected any legislature. I was the first person to be re-elected by the great people of Molo after 30 years. So for this, I'm eternally grateful that we broke that cycle of one-time member of parliament. And I believe it's because of the transformational agenda I had for the people of Molo. Jeff, I'm a product of public school, public primary school, public mixed day secondary school, public university. And I've done a lot in terms of making sure that that person who goes to a public primary school in Molo has the same chance of succeeding in life as that person who goes to the best of the schools in the Republic. And one of the things that I realized was a big gap was infrastructure, especially in our secondary school, laboratories, where we have some people who would go to see like a microscope or, or a test tube or a beaker or a pipette or a burette for the first time when they're sitting for their national examination. So we have had a program where now every day secondary school in Molo now has a complete and equipped science laboratory. We have renovated our primary schools. Some parents were telling me over the weekend that they're finding it difficult because kids now, when they go to school, their classes are tiled. And now when they go home, then they're saying, now, I think I'd rather stay at school because my class is tiled and home is not. When I got elected in 2017, power connections were around 37%. We've been able to push that to around 67% now. And my commitment to the people of Molo is that by 2027, we'll have 100% power connectivity to all homesteads in Molo. Digital superhighway is the way to go. We're talking about now competing for jobs not just locally, but globally. And we're making that happen by making sure that every ward in Molo will have an ICT hub.
Sure.
And our secondary schools also will have ICT labs in these schools so that students can start interacting with technology as early as when they're in high school. And now when they complete, they have even a better chance to hone their skills and do their assignments and do online jobs through the ICT hubs. I'm privileged to serve as perhaps the youngest chairperson of a departmental committee for a committee as important as that of Finance and National Planning, which I'm very thankful for His Excellency the President and the Deputy President for according this chance to a young person, a child of nobody, you know, and really bestowing that responsibility in my head. A responsibility I carry very proudly and prudently to make sure that we bring sanity in the sectors that we oversight. As a Committee of Finance and National Planning, I am proud that we led the most robust conversation ever. You know, it was like a constitutional amendment, what we are now all calling the Finance Bill. I did not invent it. It has always been there. But the fact that we're able to involve Kenyans in decision-making on taxes that affect them. So Kenyans are now more aware of the taxes that they are paying, and therefore they are even more keen to see what that taxes do to them. And as a leadership, if we are accountable to Kenyans and show Kenyans that the taxes we're getting from them, we're able to put them into prudent use, we're going to have a very happy republic.
All right.
As a Committee of National Finance and National Planning, we've taken several deliberate efforts. For example, the biggest problem of pending bills can easily be solved by moving our accounting system from cash to accrual system. An assignment that our committee has taken. So that if we move our accounting system from cash to accrual, all the pending bills will be accounted for. And a new regime will not have to institute a committee to check on the pending bills because they're going to be recognized every year in the financial records of that institution. Insurance sector. We've come up with a bill to regulate insurance professionals so that there's examination, there's policy, there is guidelines, there are regulations of all operators in the insurance sector. Corruption. The first whistleblower for corruption should be internal auditors. But we've realized that the regulations around the accounting fields focuses on the accountants through an institute, through ISPAC, which I'm a member of as a CPA, but there hasn't been a deliberate effort to recognize internal auditors in this country and give them a regulatory framework and a body. So our committee has adopted a bill now to recognize those auditors so that we can regularize that, and that will go a long way into curbing corruption. Cryptocurrencies and bitcoins and digital assets is here with us. You know, Jeff, when you started M-Pesa a few years ago, as in people thought it was uchawi maybe, and the world didn't believe that a third world country would come up with a mobile payment system. 15 years later, the developed countries are trying to catch up with us by Google Wallet and all those other platforms. And I believe that Kenya will be the first country among the few countries in Africa after Botswana and South Africa to recognize Bitcoins, cryptos, and digital assets as a way of payment. The Finance Act introduced a tax on capital gains on those digital assets, but we look forward to creating a regulatory environment where they can operate and become a fast in doing this.
Okay.
By doing, again, making sure that we involve the public in our decision making. Jeff, just allow me to finish with this. We are seized of the matter, the complaints of Kenyans about when they bring goods back to Kenya worth $500 and above. And I think it's good, very good that our committee deliberations today was very aired by Citizen TV, where it is part of East African Community Customs Act of 2010 that now says that any good that you bring back worth $500 and above will be subject to tax. But we seem to be very keen to implement it, where alas our competitors, because our neighboring states are not just our neighbors, they are our competitors. They compete with us for tourists. You know, when someone wants to come for a safari, they could go to Serengeti or Masai Mara. So if we make it difficult for them to come and go to Masai Mara, they will definitely go to Serengeti. So next week we have a meeting with Kenya Revenue Authority and looking about ways of amending the law to make sure we are accommodative, so that with this old act of 2010, you know, we change it and make sure that Kenya remains open for business, the holiday destinations, and our hardworking Kenyans in diaspora feel welcome when they come back home.
All right, good stuff. Caleb Amisi.
Thank you. Jeff, I believe in the greatness of this nation. I believe this country has enormous potential to be a towering figure and even an hegemon, not just regionally, also internationally. But Jeff, I think we need to sit down to halt, put a break, and think about what we have as a nation what are we selling to the world. If we think about what we have, then we'll know how to approach the world. Most economies are revolutionizing their identity. Kenya, do we have the oil? No. Even if we have, can we have the capacity to explore? Do we have the technology? No. Are we industrialized enough to compete in the complex industrial economies? No. So what do we have? Do we have the human resource? Yes. Do we have the education capacity? Yes. We need to look at what we have, the energy, the capacity of this nation vis-a-vis against the world. Then we'll know what we are selling and what we are getting from the world. If we don't sit down, relax, and think what we have against what we are selling, are we taking people away? Are we getting diaspora remittance? What are we getting from the complex international system to our nation? Before we start quarreling about the little we have and the small cake we have baked, can we now think out of the box? Many countries, Dubai here, Jeff, has been relying on oil. Then they realize oil is now diminishing. They have now structured the economy. It's now a tourist destination. It's tapping into the global flow of income. Singapore, a good example. They don't have the oil. They're in the same capacity, the same level we were 50 years ago. They realized the power. They attracted the global flow of income. Now they are somewhere. So if we don't sit down and realize where our country, the energies, the potential, the capacity we are exchanging in the world, then we continue crying.
Jeff,
absolutely.
I have one key thing to say.
You already said yours thing.
I have to say this.
No, honestly, you said it.
I have to say
okay,
this,
say
Jeff.
it.
I have one key message before we close off. 60 years of independence. When we started this discussion, we said, where are we as young people? 60 years of independence, northeastern Kenya has little to no roads. 60 years of independence, we still get stuck whenever the rains happen. Currently, I can't go to my home constituency, which is Ijara, because we'll get stuck.
Because of the rains and flooding?
The roads are inaccessible. We are losing our soldiers, we are losing our armies because the roads are not tarmacked, IEDs are easily planted. We have so much insecurity in that area, which can be solved simply if we just tarmac these roads. We won't have the IEDs blowing up the vehicles of our officers. So my key message here is, I wish to invite the president to actually come and tour northeastern Kenya so that he can see the reality outside the political nuisance, outside the political noise. Come down and talk to the people of Garissa, Wajir, Mandera to see the reality of things, because we are losing our officers, we are losing our young people. We have not had any statement even from the president regarding the IED attacks that are happening. And the biggest thing now here, I sit on this bench and ask the security apparatus at least to tell us the whereabouts of this young boy who's just been abducted for no reason.
Isn't the president's good friend Aden Duale, isn't he from Garissa?
Good night, Jeff.
What? Zero chills.
We can come after 3 weeks again.
Right, again, yes. Omi Harun, Peter Salasia, Kuria Kimani, and Caleb Hamis. Thank you so much, guys. Great job. Keep doing what you do. You guys are the future, and the future is now. What do you think? They're vocal. They talk it like they call it like they see it. And like Caleb Amisi said, we got to keep talking. The moment we stop talking is the moment we start fighting. We can't afford that. We have to move on as a nation. 60 years later, the future looks bright. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Remember, every Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. Thanks so much for being a part of the show. Good night, good luck.